Mystery at Blind Frog Ranch. Morning light seeps through the dense Nevada scrub, gold-washed rays slanting across rusted metal and tumbleweeds. At Blind Frog Ranch's remote compound, the desert exerts its stillness like a living thing, stirring only in the soft sigh of wind and the twitch of lizards sunning themselves on broken tools. A lone silhouette, a researcher, knee-deep in dust and gravel, kneels before a freshly unearthed groove, a long furrow smeared with ochre dust and dark earth. The camera lingers on their gloved hand as it brushes away sand, revealing the sharp edge of carved stone. The contours are precise, geometric lines intersecting, forming stepped patterns that pulse with ancient memory. Slowly, the camera pans upward, from the artifact to scattered shards of pottery embedded in the soil. Bands of cobalt blue swirl around a broken rim, coiling in patterns evocative of serpents and waves. The shards gleam faintly, chipped and faded, yet alive in their design. Laying down a trowel, the researcher touches the pottery, fingers tracing the spiral motifs, fingertips dusted crimson. A single broken piece bears a stylized, defeathered serpent face. There's no voice, just the gentle hum of the earth, the breath of the desert wind, and the sound of a small brush clearing sand from the carved lines of a basalt slab. The slab's surface is smooth, unnatural in this wasteland, edges squared, the surface cold and dense. As the wind stirs, loose sand slips across the blade of the slab. The camera tilts, following the grains as they offer reluctant testimony, something not from this land, a relic out of place. The slab is heavy, thick, too large for casual disposal. It speaks of intention, of transport. The researcher, backlit by the low sun, rises slowly. Knees and elbows are dusty, palms brushed with all the earthen colors, ochre, rust, coal. No speech, only deliberate motions, pulling a lightweight measuring tape, extending it across the slab, then snapping closed. The tape's click echoes in the open air. Carefully, they mark notes, finger-scratched symbols on a leather-bound journal, then brushed away with sand. The journal rests closed. Its cover is desert-worn, the edges frayed. Above, a pair of ravens wheels overhead, circling as if drawn to significance. Their wings beat languidly in the heat-hungry air. Below, the cold stone artifact lies, a puzzle piece in the middle of nowhere. The camera shifts to a second figure, another team member moving in silhouette. Hands clamp around a DSLR camera, lifting it to eye. There's a hum as a lens zooms. The viewfinder frames the serpent motif. The photographer tilts the camera, light catches the cobalt lines, coaxing their colors into life. A flash clicks, and light blooms white in the air, settling onto the plateaus of carved stone. The next shot is overhead, a drone's lens sweeping the dig site. Clusters of broken pottery, carved basalt, swatches of red ochre, a random scattering of modern tools, trowels, buckets, water bottles. The contrast between ancient relics and present-day gear is stark. The drone continues. Farther off, a rusting pickup truck sits parked. Its doors swing lightly in breeze, a modern sentinel overseeing centuries of secrets. Cut back to ground level. A gloved hand gently lifts a shard of pottery, a fragment of rim. Fingernails tap against its curved edge. The fragment is held against the sky. Sunlight streams through it. Something in the fragment's thickness refracts light, shimmering like a memory. It swims with the echo of feathers and obsidian blade-sharp designs. The hand lowers it, and with care, places it into a soft, padded tray. Other fragments lie in the tray, like puzzle pieces with missing stories. The camera slides across the fragment tray. Beads of moisture from condensation tinkle down its side. Nearby, a small bowl holds fine brushes, each bristle caked with dust, the handles eroded by repeated washing and bleaching browser sun. A metal compass, its needle trembling, sits beside a metric scale bar. They belong to now, but point back to then. A sudden motion. The researcher reaches for a small paper envelope, writes Aztec in neat block letters. The pen's ink smears slightly, then dries. The envelope seals. The question floats unsaid, but the implication is heavy. A wind gust picks up. A piece of paper flutters from a clipboard, a map annotated with red circles. The clipboard strikes the ground with a soft thud. The paper flutters further until it rests beside the carved slab. The wind dies and silence returns. The camera lingers on the map, a crudely drawn survey of the ranch, fragments labeled Area B and S13. A red circle dwarfs a scratched X at the spot of excavation. Distant, the Nevada plateau stretches flat, unbroken, yet here, graves of time lie exposed. A close-up on the slab reveals minute scratches, parallel lines etched into. They form a repeating pattern of stepped fret, reminiscent of Aztec fret motifs, commonly seen in Templo Maya reliefs. The sunlight exaggerates each groove, shadows deepening, bringing them to life. These patterns spring to mind calendar stones, serpent borders, ceremonial architecture, but here they cast in basalt, transplanted into the western desert. The next shot. Hands lifting a small beaded pendant, bright turquoise chips woven around a central piece of jade. The pendant is fragile, biblical in its stillness, the spirit held in chipped gemstones. Fingers cradle it, nothing is said. The wind rustles the pendant against fingers. Tiny chips clink softly. One chip, sky blue, fractures further, leaving a glint of inner light. Suddenly, a trickle of sand brushes down across the pendant. In close-up, the beads shift. One tumbles, then steadies. The researcher's hand steadies it too. The camera moves outward to show both figures at the dig site, together, for the first time, in shared awareness of gravity. A swath of ground nearby bears crisscrossing footprints and slide of shovels. The archaeology of excavation imprinted in a fleeting human nap. But amid this, one footprint stands out, too small, too refined. Unlike the boots and sandals, the print is a bare imprint, slender toes, arch and heel lightly pressed. The camera focuses on this alone, catching the impression in sharp detail. A voice is never heard, but the shot insists. Someone walked here, barefoot, long ago. The sky shifts from pale gold to deepening blue. The sun arcs higher. Shadows shorten. The camera returns to the slab. Now, beside it, yellow-capped stakes ring the dig area. A measuring rod stands upright. Dust drifts lazily downward, layering onto artifacts. The drone returns. Overhead, the patterns of excavation, linear trenches and squares, spell modern archaeology. But the shapes in the ground, the basalt slab, the pottery, the pendant, they refuse to belong only to now. They press back, older than the grid. Cut to a low angle. The carved serpent motif on the pottery rim glows as a breeze lifts a curtain of dust. Earth's hue and cobalt swirl into one, the serpent seeming to move in the camera's periphery. There's no animation, but suggestion. A feather slides across the rim, caught by wind, and halts in mid-balance, quivering. The feather is small, pale, delicate. It lies atop the curved rim, tracing the contours of the serpent design. The feather drifts in the camera's wide lens, the scene hushed. The researcher's fingers pluck up the feather, then gently lay it on a clean sheet in a sample box. The feather, unidentified bird, perhaps local. But paired with the Aztec imagery, it pulses like a living relic. The scene offers the sense that someone brought gifts here. The camera moves slower. Footprints approach, not human, but reptilian, thin track lines in earth, as if a lizard siding between rocks. The traces cross the dig zone, cutting through the lines of footprints left by the team. A visual whisper, a desert lizard, now extinct or merely hidden, crosses the patterns of past and present. The image lingers, tiny, delicate steps, almost erased by the mammalian prints. A contrast that feels deliberate. Now, dusk. The sun dips toward horizon. Long shadows stretch across artifacts. The sandstone wall of a nearby outcrop glows warm. The basalt slab picks up the deepening light, glowing as if lit from below. The shards of pottery catch occasional fire-like glints. The pendant's turquoise beads flicker in reflected light, their color deepening into peacock blue. Overhead, the ravens return, cawing faintly into the dying day. One lands atop the slab. Close up, black talon taps once on carved stone. The slab trembles. Tiny vibrations pulse through the basalt. The raven ruffles its feathers, tosses its head. The camera holds. No words, only that. Then the raven hops off, its talon print melting into dust. Silence deepens. The camera pans across the dig site. Pottery shards, basalt, pendant, feather, clay-colored journal, measuring tape, camera gear, all gathered like relics at center stage. The nearby desert remains unyielding, empty, vast. Finally, a wide shot. The drone pulls up and back, revealing the small humans and their site dwarfed by the open landscape. The wind lifts a swirl of dust around the artifacts, then carries it away. The sky cracks into fading gold and purple. Day's end. The evidence lies exposed and vulnerable under the vastness. Only visuals, textures, rhythms, the whisper of the earth, the color of human touch, the silence of time speaking through pottery, stone, feather, and light. Estimated word count, just under or around 1,500 words. It blends visual description, sensory detail, symbolic imagery, and pacing to evoke the presence and mystery of Aztec artifacts lodged in a modern dig at Blind Frog Ranch.